Hey guys, today's video is going to be all about my labour story and the birth of my two little twinnies, Leo and Theo. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see plenty more. Okay, so it's been 8 months since I gave birth, and it's probably taking me this long to be able to talk about it without cringing. It was just too vivid in my mind. So now I think I'm cool and I'll be able to go through the story with you all. So let's go back to where we left off. So I had my final scan and they found that Leo had not progressed since my scan a week earlier. And that was on a Wednesday, and they said, you'll need to come in on Friday and be induced. And after all that time of being in hospital to stop me going into labour, it was so funny how it ended up being that I had to be induced. So that was booked in for the Friday, and that night on the Thursday, I remember Jacob had the man flu and he couldn't sleep. He was sick, whinging. I had to take a sleeping tablet because I couldn't sleep because I was so excited. So we were pretty tired on Friday morning. Also on the Wednesday when I had my scan, they gave me another steroid injection just to help the lungs develop a little bit more because they were only 33 and 6 days when they were born. So that Friday morning, woke up at 6, gave them a ring and said, they said to give you a call, I'm being induced today, and just to make sure there's a bed available. They said, yep, come on in when you're ready. So I had a shower, had some breakfast, we went to Coles and got some goodies. I got like really nice cookies and some nice drinks and snacks because all my friends said, load up on the snacks so you don't have to eat hospital food, and it kind of eases the pain when you're just munching on chocolate. So we got all that good stuff. We got there at about 10. We're on the way. So cute. It's got a lot of problems. And they were like, oh, we've been waiting for you. We've been since 7, and I was just told to come in whenever I was ready, no rush. So they were a bit annoyed at me, I think, but they were fine. So we came into our room. It was a really nice big room, the twin room. So extra room, extra 2 beds for the twins when they're delivered, and also a big enough room to fit, all the doctors that were going to be needed because I was a high risk pregnancy and delivery. So 10 o'clock, changed into my hospital gown and went on the bed. They checked how dilated I was. They put in a cannula. Now, all throughout my pregnancy, they were telling me that I would probably need to get a cesarean. Cesarean would be the safest option, but there was a risk that if I delivered vaginally, that the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome could come back during delivery. So like one would be born and the other one would not be able to get any nutrients from the placenta and would die before I could deliver the twins. So that was a risk. But at the end of the day, my doctor said, you know what, I think everything looks great. Their twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome doesn't seem to be there anymore. And if you want to deliver vaginally, you go for it. But let's just get you ready that if we do need to do a cesarean, that we can do it really quickly. So I had to be put on a cannula, and I wasn't able to leave the bed with that on. And also had my drip in my catheter to put in the medicine to help the induction begin, and also like painkillers and everything like that. So basically, I couldn't eat the whole time in case I did have to have a cesarean, which sucked. So Jacob pretty much got all the snacks to himself. He was having a great old time. And I couldn't walk around, so I couldn't have like an active labour, and bounce on the balls and walk around and help the babies come down. I just had to sit in the bed the whole time. So that really sucked. And I was getting really uncomfortable by the end of it. So yeah, we did all that. We basically just chilled. nothing really happened, just talking to the nurses. So that was the first nurse. I think her name was Faye. She was really nice, and but we didn't know how long it would take, and the nurses changed shifts every 8 hours, so probably wasn't going to be the one delivering my babies. So 3 p.m. the epidural was put in. So yeah, from the start I was like, yep, I want epidural. And also when you have twins, they're pretty much like, yeah, you have all the drugs you want. So 3 p.m. the anesthesiologist came and tried to put it in. She couldn't find the correct spot in my spine. She, I don't know, probably jabbed me 20 times and couldn't find it. She called in her assistant. She tried to help her, couldn't find it. They called in the head guy that does it. He came in. He kept putting it in the wrong spot, and I kept feeling sharp pains in my lower back. So he was hitting my bone, and they had to end up bringing in an ultrasound machine to try and look for the correct spot in my back. So that took about an hour and a half when it should take 10 minutes. And he was asking me if I had scoliosis, because he was finding it really hard to find the spot in my back, and I don't have scoliosis. I don't know why it was so hard, but they ended up finding it in the end, and finally that was all hooked up. And epidurals don't hurt at all. I was really freaked out about it. People are always saying that is the worst part of labor. It didn't hurt at all. It was just a little bit uncomfortable when he kept hitting the wrong spot. It just kind of felt like a bruise in my lower back. So by 3 p.m. it had been a different nurse that started. I forget her name. She was younger, and she was cool. She was quite negative about her job. Like, she didn't really want to be there anymore. And so she was just, talking to me about that. It passed the time. I liked just having combos with her, like just hearing about, how she was so tired and all this. But yeah, she's quite a negative person. So I was really happy when at about 6, my midwife that would be delivering the babies, Joy, was on. She was so lovely. She was probably in her late 50s. And she was so nice. And then also my midwife was there as well, Lara. So they set you up with a student midwife who's with you that whole time through your pregnancy and is with you with your labour. And it's really nice to have that familiar face with you at the end, someone that's been there through the whole time. And she was awesome through everything. So thank you so much, Lara. You were a really good encouragement and really helped me through it all. So that was great. So they popped in. Lara said, just talk to Joy, and she was like, it's probably going to be a few more hours still. So head home and come back. So Lara went home for a bit and then came back. And then it was seriously just like a long waiting game.
6.5 hours later.
We were just lying there. So from 10 a.m. Till 10 p.m. So 12 hours. I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. I wasn't feeling any contractions. I wasn't really dilating. It was just taking a really long time. The doctors came in at 6 and she broke Theo's sac. So they get like this long plastic serrated thing and they stick it up there and scrape the sac, and then all the water gushes out. So they did that at about 6 and I still wasn't dilating. And probably the worst part of labour is when they're checking how far you've dilated. They're pretty much shoving their whole fist up there, feeling around, and it made my eyes water. Like, it was just horrible. That was probably the worst part. So she did that, and yeah, they would go up there, every couple of hours and see how far I was dilated. So 10 p.m., so 12 hours of lying there, I started to feel really uncomfortable, and it was all in my bum. So my bum felt numb, and I was lying on my back that whole 12 hours. So I was like, I need to roll over. I think my bum is just numb. It was killing me. So they said, roll on your side. She's like, you're fine, you're fine. And then I just started shaking, like, of pain and crying. It just hurt so much. Like, seriously, like someone stabbing you in the bum with knives. And I was like crying, shaking. I'm like, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And then they weren't really taking notice of me. Joy, she was just like, it's okay. Like, And when you get an epidural, you have a little button and you can press it if you need more. And you can do it every 15 minutes. So I was like pushing through those 15 minutes and pressing that button and just wanting that pain relief. And it was doing nothing for me. I was on the gas. That was doing nothing. It was just making me feel a bit lightheaded and sick. And I'm like, it is hurting so bad. Please do something. And they said, all right, let's top up your epidural, because it had been in for a really long time by then. And they called the anesthesiologist. They called the doctor to come in as well. And she said, all right, let's see how far dilated you are while we wait for anesthesiologist. And she said, I can see the head. So it was too late to top up the epidural. It was all happening. It just came on so fast. So that was about 11:30. She said she could see Theo's head, and she called my doctor. So this was a doctor that checked up on me every single day when I was in hospital, Dr. Manuzzo. So it was really cool that she would be there for the birth. Because the whole time I remember we were just joking about if the baby's going to have red hair like dad and everything like that. So it was really awesome that she would be there. And she was really familiar with twins, and also the doctor that was checking me, I think her name was Jo. I believe she was a twin as well. She was really lovely. So, was she a twin, babe?
No.
That Dr. Jo, that one, was she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So there's just like twins everywhere. Everyone was so excited. It was just like a twin vibe in the twin room. So, no time for epidural. You got to start pushing. So this was at midnight. Now, so this was on Friday the 20th that I went into the hospital, and it was my nana's birthday. So everyone was really excited that this would be the best birthday gift for my nana. But we just missed it. So 12 o'clock at midnight, I started pushing. So it's not like the movies, or it wasn't for me, where you're like screaming in pain. It did hurt. I had to hold my legs up towards me, and Jakey was there. I was breathing in the gas, and we just push. And I remember I did kind of scream a little bit, and the doctor said, she like was quite firm. She was like, you need to focus. She was like, breathe and focus. And that really helped me. And then I was like just in the zone. And you have to remember, your body is made to do this. That's what I just kept telling myself. Like, it's going to hurt, but I'm not going to die. My body can handle this pain. So that is just what helped me get through. And I pushed for 15 minutes, and then Theo was born at 12:16 in the morning. And that is probably the hardest part, when that head and the shoulders, you got to get that out. And then all of a sudden it's like, gush, and they just pop right out. And it's the best relief. And you totally forget the pain. You just are so excited. And, but no rest for me. Had to keep on pushing. So they kind of brought Theo to me, just held him up and said, look at your baby. And I was like, I just couldn't even, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just still having to push, so I couldn't really look at him. But, you know, they were like, he's fine, he's perfect, he's healthy. So I was really relieved. And I looked at him for a little bit as I was pushing Leo out. So as soon as Theo out, Joe stuck in another thing and broke Leo's water. And so I was pushing. He got stuck, and they were pretty much ready to whisk me off to get a cesarean emergency to get him out. And I was like so exhausted, and then I was like, nah, I can do this. And I just pushed, and they were just like, yep, you can do this. And he popped out at 12:32. Leo was born, and he needed some oxygen to help breathe because he was the littler twin. He was the donor for the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, and he hadn't been growing for the last week. But they were both healthy and well, and I was so happy. And it's the most craziest feeling ever, and it's just magical. But, you know, because it was such a high-risk delivery, Jacob didn't get to cut their cords, which we were kind of sad about, and I didn't get to hold them straight away or meet them, really. So that was kind of sad. You kind of give birth to them, and then they're taken away to intensive care, which is great to make sure that they're okay. But you kind of just left in the room and your babies are gone and you just like are in a whirlwind. So that happened, and then I was exhausted. I was just bleeding everywhere, and then it was time to give birth to the placenta, and I found that more painful than giving birth to the babies. It was just so hard to get out, and it's disgusting, and it's probably because it's not giving you the satisfaction of an actual baby coming out. It's just like a horrible thing that looks gross and black. It's gross. And so I delivered the placenta. They popped it on a trolley next to me, and they're like, "Oh, look at it, this held your babies." And it was awesome to see, but it was so gross. And then after that, it was just blood everywhere, gushing. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's disgusting. She said, go have a shower, and I hadn't walked in 15 hours. They took out the catheter, and then Jacob had to help me shower, and that was really nice, cleaning off that blood for me down there. And I couldn't do anything. I had all the drips in my arms, and he had to fully wash me. It really bonded us. And then I felt so much better because it had been a long time since I had a shower. Then I got into a new hospital gown that wasn't covered in blood and amniotic fluid, and then I was put back on the bed. And then by this time, I hadn't eaten since 7 a.m. the day before, and I was starving. And during my labour, they did let me have 1 Milo and a cup of tea. That was nice, but again, because I did have gestational diabetes, they didn't want my sugar to go up or too low, so they were really wary about what I could have, and pretty much it was just water. So I was starving, but still no food for me. By 2:10, they came in and did my stitches. I had a first degree tear. It was hardly first degree. They said it was very, very small. I only had to have 2 stitches, but that was the worst part of the whole thing. It was, the epidural had worn off by then. They gave me a local anesthetic, but I could still feel everything, and I could feel that thread, a stitch. It was a very small tear, and I think she was a very young doctor too. For some reason, I had all the young doctors. Yeah, like when they were putting in the cannula, I had a young doctor, and she couldn't find the vein. She put it in the wrong spot, and then my hand was swollen the whole time I was giving labour, and it was so tender and sore. And then I had a young doctor doing my stitches, and it took ages. But you lose all dignity when you give birth. I was there spread eagle for hours, just talking to people, talking to the nurses, said goodbye to my doctor, got stitched up. And then by about 3, I finally got some toast. And there's a photo of me with the toast, just living the dream, so excited about the toast. It was the best toast of my life. I scoffed that down real good. And then they said, have a sleep, try to get some rest. But how could I sleep? I wanted to meet my babies. So I think I had a little bit of a nap, and then 6 a.m. I was finally allowed to be free from this room of torture and go and meet my babies. So we went into this intensive care, and that's where Leo was in his little incubator, and he was so tiny, and I remember touching his hand for the first time, and he wrapped his hand around my little finger, and he wouldn't let go, and it was the cutest thing ever. But then we had to go and see Theo, and he was in special care because he didn't need as much help to breathe. So we went to special care and held him I didn't get to hold him, I just got to hold his hand in the incubator, and I was in a wheelchair, and he was doing perfect as well. It was a pretty cruisy labour. It wasn't as bad as you think it's going to be.
Like you made it sound bad.
Yeah, like I probably scared everyone, but it's totally bearable pain, and once you get your babies, it's totally worth it, and I'm keen to go again. Like, if you're keen to go again, it's not that bad. And you just have to breathe through it, and it's not like in the movies where you think you're like screaming for hours and hours and hours. It's like a slow build up, and then it's like 15 minutes of pushing, and that's it. And the every labor's different. Like when I did finish my labor, remember that there was that lady screaming? Yeah, when I gave birth to them, I could hear a lady in the room next to me screaming. And I'm so glad that she did that after I gave birth, because that would have really freaked me out. But other than that, it was totally worth it. And I think there's not many people that give birth vaginally to twins. You know, everyone, oh, you had a cesarean, that's just the norm. But, you know, if you have twins and everything's looking good, there's no reason why you can't do it vaginally. Obviously, follow the directions of your doctor and what they recommend. But I would recommend it. The recovery time was way better. And I'll do a video on that, on the recovery and postpartum and everything like that, if you guys are interested. And, yeah, so that was it. If you have any questions or want to know anything more, please leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks guys, bye.